Hi friends, today I am joining you as Mrs. Auroch, not Captain Auroch, because I have a special guest here today with me. This is our newest family member. Yeah, you're okay. She's just crying a little bit. This is Pearl. Can you say hi? This is Pearl. She's a little Australian Shepherd. Her color is called a blue merle, which basically means she's got like the white and the gray, a little bit of copper-ish in her. And she's got blue eyes, if you didn't notice. Pearl, she's very scared of heights, so it's okay. Just show me your blue eyes. Hi. This is Pearl. We like the name Pearl because pearls can be all sorts of different colors. And she's our little Pearl, our little precious Pearl. So yeah, we're gonna put her downstairs for a little bit, but I just thought today she could be here for a little bit to say hello. All right, see you in a little bit. Hi fourth graders, I am back. The puppy is downstairs taking a nap. So today we are going to do a different sort of lesson where we're doing what we call a close reading. Okay, so we've done these a few times this year, but a close reading, if you have forgotten, a close reading is when you do an intensive analysis or looking through carefully of a text or a story in order to come to an understanding of what it's saying and what it's meaning. Because usually what happens is when we read a story, we actually don't pay close attention to all the details, especially when there's a lot in the story that we don't know, or maybe there's a lot of vocabulary words that we don't know in the story. So that's why it's important to go back and read the story again. So what we're going to be doing today is rereading chapter 2. Chapter 2's title was called The Sea Chest and the Blind Man. And so I will give you a quick rundown, just a reminder of what it was, where we found out there was a sea chest, and then the blind man, Pew, came in and he got ran over, trampled through horses. But there were a lot more details in there, right? So I'm going to replay the read aloud that I did last time of chapter 2, and I want you to follow along. You can also just read independently in your reader, okay, if you want to do that. And I'm going to show you the questions that you're going to answer, okay? So in your workbook, there are some questions, and they require you to really read carefully and pay attention, okay? I'm going to show you what that looks like. All right, so here is your activity page. And yes, I have a little extra buddy that decided to join me. I've got a little girl that was crying, so she's with us today as well. Okay, so you're going to turn to your activity book, and you're going to be on activity page 3.1. It's called The Sea Chest and the Blind Man, the name of the chapter 2 that you're going to be rereading today to do a close read. And the page numbers that it's on starts on page 25 and it goes to page 26. Okay, and then I'm just going to double check here. Yep, it ends on page 27. Okay, all right. So that's the only really work that you have to do in your activity book today is this activity page. So the important thing before we do a close read is to look at some of the questions. Now, especially when you're doing state testing, it's important to look at the questions side by side or even before you read. So you know what to look for. And that way your mind can focus on something. Your mind can focus on finding the information. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Hopefully you can see a little bit better. It says, as you and your partner read chapter 2, The Sea Chest and the Blind Man, answer the following questions. Use complete sentences and include page numbers where appropriate. Now, of course, you're not going to be working with a partner, so we already know that it's just you. And you don't need to include page numbers, so just skip that part, okay? Okay, so question number 1. Why did Jim and his mother wait in a ditch? So I'm not going to give you help on this yet. I'm going to go back after you listen to the chapter 2 again. You do that close read on it, and then we'll go over some of the answers, and then the rest you're going to find on your own, or not on your own, but from the actual chapter 2. Okay, so number 1 says, why did Jim and his mother wait in a ditch? So let's be thinking about that while we listen today to this story. Number 2, a simile is a comparison of two different things, usually using like or as. Paraphrase the following simile from page 15 in your own words. They scattered like rabbits in every direction. I like that simile. Number 3, chapter 2 contains 2 different settings. Now, a setting, what in the world is a setting? We know a setting is where a story takes place. Name the 2 places where the action happens in this chapter. It even tells you the definition of, setting right here, where the action happens, where the story takes place. So look at the clues the questions are giving you, okay? Okay, here we go. We're gonna keep moving on. Number 4, dialogue or talking is used with quotation marks, is used on page 13 to show rather than tell. Just like Jim and his mother, the reader overhears the dialogue. What do we learn from their conversations? So what do we learn on page 13, okay, about when they're talking? Number 5, in the following sentence on page 14, what does the idiom hold their ground mean? If you're wondering what an idiom is, I want you to think about idioms that you've heard before. The way I remember idiom is my favorite idiom, it's raining cats and dogs, okay? Now, when you say it's raining cats and dogs, you're not saying it's literally, when you look outside, you're seeing cats and dogs falling from the sky. That's not really what's happening. So really, what an idiom is a phrase or expression that represents a figurative meaning, not real. So when you're saying it's raining cats and dogs, what you're really saying is it's raining really hard. All right. So the idiom here is underlined. Pew, however, attempted to convince the others to hold their ground. So are they really holding the ground? What does that mean? Not really holding it. It's not a real meaning, but it means something else. Right, here we go. Number 6. In the following sentence on page 20, how does the use of the phrase "do not breathe a word" of, and it stops at of, contribute, that means give, meaning to the passage? And number 7 has 2 parts. Okay, so first you answer part A, then part B. What is the Jolly Roger? So that, read aloud, will tell you what it is. And part B, what was the purpose of the Jolly Roger? Why did they need the Jolly Roger? 8, what do Jim, Dr. Livesey, and Squire Trelawney decide to do after opening the treasure map? And number 9, whom does Squire Trelawney hire to be the cook on the Hispaniola? All right, let's get going on listening to chapter 2 again. You can also grab your reader out and read chapter 2 on your own. Now today we are going to be reading chapter 2, The Sea Chest and the Blind Man. A strong, pungent smell of tobacco and tar rose from the interior of the old sea chest as we opened it. On the top was an elegant suit of clothes never worn. Under that was a tin, a quadrant, tobacco, a bar of silver, West Indian shells, a Spanish watch, several compasses, and 2 pistols. At the bottom of the chest lay a bundle wrapped in oilcloth and a canvas bag that gave forth the jingle of coins. I pride myself on being an honest woman, my mother said. I'll take what I'm owed and not a farthing more or less. So what do you think? What are we learning about Jim's mother's morals here, or beliefs? We are learning from her is that she's honest and she's only going to take the money that is owed and not the entire contents of the chest. Right here, you're going to see this image. It says, with nothing but sea and sky in sight, sailors in the 1700s used a navigational tool called a quadrant. So I mentioned that. We found it, the quadrant, to find their way on the open waters. This quarter circle shaped instrument measured the angle between the North Star and the horizon, which sailors used to determine their distance north or south of the equator. Here we are back to our story. She began to count the money into a bag. As she counted, we heard a familiar sound. It was the tapping of the blind man's stick upon the frozen road. Oh no, he's back. It drew nearer while we held our breath. Then we heard the blind man's voice along with several others. Oh no, here's Jim with his mother. They're going through the contents of Captain Billy Bones' chest after he has died. So of course in the video I just showed you with the Muppets, it was actually not his mother that was with him. He was with 2 other people, or Muppets, right? Puppets, and they were going through the contents. instead of his mother. "Mother," I whispered nervously, "please hurry up." "I'll hold on to what I have so far," she exclaimed. "I'll take this to square the count," I informed her as I picked up the bundle wrapped in oilcloth. Then we groped our way downstairs, threw open the back door, and ran out into the darkness of night, two desperate souls unsure of what to do next. A silvery moon peeped out from behind ominous storm clouds. The moonlight allowed us to glimpse the ditch that lay behind the inn. Without hesitating, we made our way toward it. There we waited, breathing in the cool night air, out of sight but within earshot of the inn. Before long, a number of shadowy figures appeared. "Inside," a chilling voice commanded. It was the blind man. "Find him." The others scurried forward in the darkness. A few seconds later, we heard a gruff voice call out, "Bill's dead!" "Search him!" shrieked the blind man. "Find the key, or you'll answer to me." There was a lengthy pause, and then another cry. "Someone got here before us! The key's gone!" "Then find the sea chest and smash it to pieces," screeched the blind man. The sound of his voice sent a cold shiver running down my spine. I heard a commotion and the sound of footsteps coming from the upstairs area of the inn. Moments later, the window to the captain's room was flung open. Such a force caused the glass to shatter and break. Then a man, with a face resembling that of an angry gargoyle, leaned out of the window into the moonlight. "Pew!" he shouted. "It's like I told you already. Someone's been here before us. They rifled through Bill's chest." "Is it there?" Pew roared. "There's some money," said the gargoyle-faced man. "Forget the money," Pew spat. "Flint's map, I mean." "It's nowhere to be found, I tell ya." "Blast it," cried the blind man. "It's that boy. I should have dealt with him earlier. He was here just a few minutes ago. I know it. Scatter, lads, and hunt the rascal down." Uh-oh. A great to-do ensued in our old inn. Furniture was thrown about and beds were stripped. Doors were forcefully kicked in, and finally, the men came out and declared that I was nowhere to be found. Just then, we heard a whistle in the darkness. I guessed it was some sort of signal. The men had left a guard, and he was warning them of impending danger. "There's Dirk," one of them pronounced. "We'll have to scarper and quick, mates." Pew, however, attempted to convince the others to hold their ground and not flee like scalded rats. "The boy can't have gone far," he urged desperately. "That rascal was here no more than a few minutes ago. Scatter and look for him, you lily-livered cowards. Oh, if I had my eyes, what I wouldn't do right now." Two of the men obeyed Pew and began to search around the exterior of the inn, exterior meaning outside. But the others stood in the road, unsure of their next move. Pew sensed the men's confusion. "Get to it," he yelled. "If we find what we came for, we'll all be as rich as kings. Don't stand there skulking. If you had the pluck of a weevil in a biscuit, you would catch him." So a weevil in a biscuit is some sort of bug, basically, that likes to get inside old crackers and things, and they can move through food or biscuit meaning cracker, pretty fast. "Hang it, Pew," grumbled one of the men. "Don't you think we should take the money and run?" "He could be anywhere hereabouts," moaned another. "Let's call it a day and run before we get caught." Pew's anger escalated, and he began swinging his walking stick. He struck at the others right and left in his blindness, then in turn cursed the blind man, threatened him in horrid terms, and tried in vain to catch his stick and take it from him. The quarrel saved us. For while it was raging, another sound came from the top of a nearby hill. Galloping horses. A pistol came from the hedge. That must have been the final signal warning the men of a serious danger, for they scattered like rabbits in every direction. In half a minute, only Pew remained. So I want you to take a look at this picture. So let's think about Pew. Okay, so the blind man, Pew, he seems upset and these men are scattering. So something's going on that we don't quite know yet. He tapped up and down the road in a frenzy, calling out to his comrades, meaning friends.
"Johnny," he shouted, "black dog, Dirk, don't leave old Pew here without eyes to guide him." At that moment, 5 riders swept down the hill at full gallop. Pew sensed he was in their path and cried out, but it was too late. One of the horses knocked him to the ground and another trampled over him. Pew made one last gasp and then silent on the ground. I saw that the horsemen were actually officers. One of them dismounted and checked on Pew, but there was nothing to be done. So let's think. Let's think about this right here. What does that mean? But there was nothing to be done. Use the clues it's giving you. So what it's saying here is that of course the men are coming down, they're firing a warning shot, kind of encouraging the men to leave. And Pew has been trampled by a horse. Often if you're trampled by a horse, you'll be seriously injured. Sometimes you can die, and it looks like there's nothing to be done, which means he's dead. I jumped up out of the ditch, and after conversing with the officers, that means talking with the officers, and calming my mother, I made my way to Dr. Livesley's home. I found Dr. Livesey dining with Squire Trelawney. I told them everything that had happened and showed them the bundle I had retrieved from the sea chest. At first they were stunned and rather silent, but eventually they were able to think clearly, and we began to converse. "Have you heard of this Captain Flint?" Dr. Livesley asked Squire Trelawney. "Heard of him?" the squire cried. "Of course I have. Why, John Flint was the bloodthirstiest pirate that ever flew the Jolly Roger. In fact, Blackbeard was a child compared to Flint." Remember Blackbeard from our last lesson? He's apparently not as ferocious and scary as this pirate Flint. Now they're talking about the Jolly Roger. Jolly Roger is what we call the skull and crossbones flag. So anytime they say, "Oh, the Jolly Roger is sailing," or "the Jolly Roger is flying in the wind," they're just talking about the flag here. "Well," said the doctor, "suppose this packet tells us where the old buccaneer hid his treasure. What would you do then, may I ask?" "I would fit on a sailing ship in Bristol," the squire declared confidently. "I'll take you and Jim Hawkins along, and I would find that treasure, even if I had to search for an entire year." And with that, the doctor cut the bundle open. It contained 2 things, a book and a sealed paper. Printed on the first page of the book were the words, "Billy Bones, his account." It's like a journal. The next 20 pages were filled with dates, sums of money, and little crosses. One line read, "June 12th, 1745, 70 pounds off Caracas." Next to this entry were 6 tiny crosses. Okay. Now right here, here's our little, of course, image, right? We have our text box, which says, "When merchant ship sailors saw the Jolly Roger's skull and crossbones flying over a pirate ship, they knew they faced a strong set of armed buccaneers." The symbol struck such fear that oftentimes merchant ships, meaning they would be taking things, merchants are people that sell, so they take things from other countries, importing, exporting sort of things, and then they would travel around the world delivering them. Oftentimes, merchant ships immediately surrendered their goods in exchange for their lives. Not all ships flew exactly the same variation, and powerful pirate captains became infamous, meaning so famous, overly famous, identified by their customized flag. So they would have a flag similar to us, but it was kind of customized, meaning it was made personally for that pirate. Here's our next picture. So here we have Squire Trelawney, we have Dr. Livesley that are looking over this letter or journal that was the captains that passed away, which told us right here, right, Billy Bones. And they're sort of assessing it. "What does it mean?" I asked. "This is the old captain's account book," said the squire. "This entry tells us that the pirates got 70 pounds of loot after they attacked a ship off the coast of Caracas and on the Spanish Main." Next, we inspected the sealed paper. The doctor opened it carefully and a map fell to the floor. It was a map of an island labeled with latitude and longitude. Latitude and longitude, so latitude are lines across, longitude are long lines up and down that are used on a map. It was a map of an island I labeled with latitude and longitude, water depths, names of hills, bays, and inlets, and all the details needed to bring a ship safely to anchorage upon its shores, meaning to make anchor, put the anchor down. It seemed to me that the island was shaped like a portly dragon, portly meaning big, large. From the map, we could see that the island was about 9 miles long and 5 wide. It had 2 harbors, and there was a large hill in the center marked Spyglass. Several things had been added to the map in red ink. There were 3 crosses, 2 on the north part of the island and 1 in the southwest. Next to one of these, written in a small, neat hand, very different from the captain's, were the words, bulk of treasure here, meaning most of the treasures here. On the back of the map, in the same hand, we read, tall tree, spyglass shoulder, bearing a point to the north of NNE, Skeleton Island, ESE, and by E, 10 feet. The bar silver is in the north cache. Find it by the trend of the east hummock, 10 fathoms south of the crag with the face on it. The arms are in the sandhill, end point of North Inlet Cape, bearing E and a quarter N, JF. Okay, so of course, this may not make sense to you, okay, because this is all written as if you were familiar with traveling on the sea. And this is what Jim says about it. He says, it did not make much sense to me, but the squire was delighted. Tomorrow, I'll set off for Bristol, meaning Bristol, England. He effused. In 10 days, we'll have the best ship and crew in England. Hawkins shall come with us as cabin boy. You, Livesley, will be the ship's doctor, and I will be the admiral. Here is the map. So we'll have no difficulty in finding the spot, and we'll have money to roll in ever after. I'll accompany you, said the doctor, and I hope Jim will too. There's only one man who concerns me. Name the dog, sir, cried the squire. You, replied the doctor, you cannot hold your tongue. Those fellows who ransacked the inn tonight are looking for this map and for Flint's treasure. We have to be extremely careful. You go to Bristol and take my 2 loyal servants, Joyce and Hunter, with you. Remember, do not breathe a word of what we've found. Quite right, said the squire. You can rely on me to be as silent as the grave. To be silent as the grave, as soon as you are put in the grave and you're dead, you don't talk anymore. So that's why that phrase is used. But truly, if he's saying the squire talks a lot, are we really going to believe that he's going to be as silent as the grave? So the squire, along with Joyce and Hunter, set off for Bristol. I stayed on at the hall with the squire's gamekeeper, old Redruth. After a couple of weeks, Dr. Livesley received a letter from the squire. So here's weeks after. Dear Livesley, the ship lies at anchor ready for sea. You never saw a sweeter schooner, meaning ship. Her name is the Hispaniola. I acquired her through my old friend, Blandy. At first, finding a crew troubled me. I wanted 20 men, and I had difficulty finding half a dozen. But then, fortune brought me the man I required. I fell into talk with him on the dock. He keeps a tavern, and I found he knew all the seafaring men in Bristol. It seems he lost his health ashore and was hoping to secure a position as a cook at sea. He had hobbled down there that morning, he said, to enjoy the salty sea air. I was touched by his story and engaged him on the spot to be the ship's cook. Long John Silver, he is called. So, if you've ever heard this Long John Silver, it's because of this story. He's in here. He has lost a leg in his country's service. Okay, let's stop real quick. What in the world? So what you're going to notice is that this guy has lost a leg. He's got a peg leg, which means that this is an example of foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a book's way of giving you a clue of what may happen in the future. And if you remember, we have our Captain Billy Bones. He warned Jim Hawkins. He said, do not trust the man with one leg. So can we really, what's some foreshadowing we could think about? Do we really trust this Long John Silver who only has one leg? Between Long John Silver and myself, we got together a fine company of seamen. Silver even got rid of 2 men I had already engaged. He explained they were just the type of men we needed to avoid for a venture of this importance. Or is Long John Silver trying to make things better for himself by getting rid of these men? And what does it mean, get rid of the men? Did he kill them? I am in magnificent health and spirits, eating like a bull, sleeping like a tree, yet I am eager to lift an anchor. So do come quickly. So let's see here. We have similes that he says. He says he's eating like a bull and sleeping like a tree. John Trelawney. P.S. My old friend Blandy has agreed to send another ship after us if we don't turn up by the end of August. He found an admirable fellow for captain, a stiff man, but in all other respects a treasure. Long John Silver has unearthed a very competent mate, meaning you're smart, you're well-knowing. And that is where our chapter ends.
Now that you have reread chapter 2, we are going to go through those questions from your activity book and answer some of them together, and then the remaining ones you're going to answer on your own. Okay, let's see if your close reading skills of really analyzing, carefully knowing what the questions were, trying to see if you could find the answers as you were listening or reading chapter 2, if you were able to find those a little bit easier this time. Okay, here we go. All right, so we are back here on our activity page. Remember, we are starting on page 25. And let's look at the first one. Well, number 1, why did Jim and his mother wait in a ditch? So the first thing I like to do is really to eliminate the ones that I know for sure it's not, okay? And I am noticing that there's some pretty obviously wrong ones. And I get rid of those first. I simply just cross them out. They were looking for their dog. No, that's not true. They were lost. They were not lost. Okay. They wanted to avoid a mob of angry townspeople. That one tricks me. And then C, they were hiding from pirates ransacking the inn. So let's think about this here. Now, remember, it wasn't Jim and his mom who were being attacked by the mob. Okay. It was Pew, the blind man, and his buddies, those pirates, that were being really taken over by some men on horses. Okay, so obviously I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, we're talking about with Jim and his mom, so it's not going to be A, so definitely C. And the page number you don't have to put down, remember? Okay, so the answer for number 1 is C. You got that one as a freebie from me. Now I want you to do number 2 on your own, where it talks about a simile, because we've been working with similes all year, I expect you to know what those are and to be able to identify what it means when we're saying they scattered like rabbits in every direction. Chapter 3. So chapter 3 explained that there were 2 settings, right? So this one is a little bit trickier. So you have to identify the 2 settings. So the two settings are, well, here we have the first one was Admiral Benbow. Remember, that was the name of the inn, okay, or outside of it, because there was some action happening outside of it. And the other location was Dr. Livesey's house. Okay, that was the second location where they were talking about getting their own ship, their own schooner. So that's the other location. So there you have the 2 locations. They got another little freebie there on number 3. Let's move on to number 4. Dialogue is used on page 13 to show rather than tell. So I want to look at the dialogue in there and try to identify what you think. Sorry, I got a little fun trick over here. What you think. So is it A, Pew and his men have found Flint's map? B, the items Pew and his men are looking for are gone? C, Pew is more interested in Flint's map than the money? D, Pew knows Jim has taken the key in Flint's map. So what are we learning from the conversations here? Well, we do know that in that conversation on page 13, Pew's angry. He knows Jim has taken the key in Flint's map. And he is more interested in the map. Remember, he even says, one guy says, well, here's money. And Pew's like, I don't care. I just want the map. Okay, he wants the treasure. And I'm saying, so C and D for sure. Now let's look at A and B. Pew and the men have found Flint's map. No, that wasn't happening in the dialogue. Okay, and then they never, you know what? They didn't find the map. The map was gone. Okay, remember, Jim took it. So then it says the items Pew and his men are looking for gone. That's true as well in that dialogue. So A is completely false altogether. So since we have B, C, and D, E will be our answer because all of them except A. So B, C, and D. Nice job. So the answer is E because all 3 of us. Nice work. Okay, so let's skip ahead. In the following sentences on number 5 on page 14, what does the idiom hold their ground mean? So I'm going to decide which of these does that mean to hold your ground. Hold your ground. Does that mean get out of here, run? Okay, if I say hold your ground, what does that mean? Does that mean don't move? Which one of these could be that? Number 6, in the following sentence on page 20, how does the use of the phrase do not breathe a word of contribute? Do not breathe a word of contribute to the meaning of the passage, meaning how does it add to the passage? Okay, what is it saying here on number 6? So in the excerpt it says, remember, do not breathe a word of what we've, yeah, that's right. Do not breathe a word of what we found. I will give you a clue on this one. It could be more than one. I'm not saying it is. It could be more than one. So think about that. Okay. Is there any one of these that could be more than that definition they're going? I'm not going to give you the answer on 6. Okay. And number 7, what is the Jolly Roger? So this one you guys should know. This one's pretty darn easy. So what is the Jolly Roger? We know that the Jolly Roger, sorry, she's asking for water. Okay. Yummy. So what is the Jolly Roger? We know the Jolly Roger is the flag pirates flew. Okay, and what is the purpose? This one is a little bit trickier. What is the purpose of the Jolly Roger? And so really what the purpose of this is that it had the skull and the crossbones, and what it meant to be was a way to scare or intimidate. Okay, so the skull and crossbones were meant to scare / intimidate other sailors or merchants, right? People who are going to get goods in their boats or deliver goods, and to identify, the big purpose was identify a pirate ship, because all pirate ships, well, most of them anyway, would have the Jolly Roger flag. Okay. Thank you so much. All right, and here we have number 8. So number 8, I want you to look through there. What do Jim, Dr. Livesey, and Squire Trelawney decide to do after opening the treasure map? And the last one I'm going to have you answer on your own as well. Whom does Squire Trelawney hire to be the cook on the Hispaniola? That one we really talked about in detail on your character chart. So if you don't remember, you can go to the character chart and find the answer for that one. Okay, so we're at the very end. You've already done your rereading, close reading, you've done your activity page, and now let's head on to our little treasure box. Here we have our little treasure box. All right, so let's see what we got here. We have coins. She calls these cookies. Actually, are not cookies, but they're in the shape of a cookie. Thank you so much. Okay, here we go. So what does it say in our treasure box? What is our activity today for us pirates? Design a pirate flag. This is what you're going to do today. Don't make it so hard to do, okay? Make it fun for yourself. All right, so just grab a blank piece of paper. Doesn't have to be big. It can be the just regular size of printer paper. It could be lined paper. It could be color paper, or just a little piece of paper. And you're going to design your own pirate flag. Okay. Now let me give you some examples of what some pirate flags are. Here we go. Here's some examples of pirate flags. If you're going to look at the different skull and crossbones meaning the bones cross, right? Here's some different variations of the Jolly Roger. And we have all sorts. I see like a cat, a shark, I see someone in the, can't tell what that one is. A scary ghost one, clowns, all sorts. Okay, so I want you can pick one of these as your inspiration, or you can simply create your own. And then I'm going to have you share it with your teacher. Okay? All my students who share it with me, they're going to send it to me in an email, or they can just copy and paste it. They can take a picture of it, or their parents can send it to me, or they can just describe it to me. But I am expecting that part. So make sure you share a picture of your pirate flag with your teacher. All right, my friends. Today was fun. Got my crazy kid over here that's playing with our treasure chest. Sorry she's so loud today. But yeah, I had fun with you guys today, and hopefully you were entertained with all sorts of craziness. Right now she's trying to do the baby shark. Do, 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 do. Let's do baby. Baby shark, do, 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 do. Baby shark, do, 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 do. Baby shark, do, 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 do. Baby shark. Daddy shark, do, 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 do. I only have one arm, dude. Thanks for allowing us to be here with you today. Sorry for the distractions. That won't happen every day. But yeah, hopefully you got a little bit of entertainment along with your lesson. Have a wonderful day. Bye.